saucers flying in an advertisement for Eartha Kitt in neon. Did you see
noticed that too.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Catwoman.
Yes.
And from Elvis Scared Stupid, right?
Elvis? Or Ernest?
Or Elvis.
He's like, oh,
Elvis Scared Stupid. My blue suede shoes. Ernest Scared Stupid.
Elvis.
I wish there was an Elvis Scared Stupid.
Lieutenant John Harper says, but one thing's for sure. Inspector Clay is dead, murdered, and somebody's responsible. Yeah, I would think if someone's murdered, somebody would be responsible for it.
By definition.
Yeah.
Alien Week.
Holy shoot.
It wouldn't be Alien Week without the best alien ever, Jar Jar.
He's itched. Dude,
Wow.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
We finally got him on the podcast, guys. I guess Matt's not here for the week. It's just Jar Jar.
Is Jar Jar your favorite alien?
Well, since you're here in person, I have to say yes. How have you been, Jar Jar, ever since you've been out of work for a couple years?
Pretty good.
Were you kind of upset that they didn't put you in the new Star Wars films? Or?
No, because, I mean, it is my fault that the Emperor rose to power.
Oh, so you've kind of taken,
Yep.
the blame for that? You've owned up.
That's enough.
What? It's you!
It's me. I was faking.
It's you. It's you. So, as Jar Jar, or Matt said, it is Alien Week.
Can't believe you fell for that ruse.
I mean, it was so realistic.
You're off your game.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Should have tipped me off, though, when you weren't like 10 feet tall.
Are you ready for Alien Week?
I am. The question is, are the viewers?
Nothing can prepare them.
Yes. For this out-of-this-world episode, which features Plan 9 from Outer Space and Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
A nice double feature.
Yes. I guess I could have picked the one from closer to Plan 9 and we would have had like a double black and white feature, but
maybe next year.
Yeah. We picked the Plan 9 remake and the Invasion of the Body Snatchers original. So how are you this week?
Good.
Good. That is awesome to hear.
It's pretty spooky out there. Last week it was Bigfoots. This week it's aliens.
I know. We're just trudging on through week by week, and hopefully we'll survive through the end of the month.
Yeah.
Through all these monsters. These freaks. Even though I guess an alien would be, like, not happy that you called him a freak. Because he's just a different life form. I guess so is a Bigfoot. But anyway.
As Phil Collins told us, it's no fun being an illegal alien.
Like what's it called? District 9. Which one do you want to start with this week?
I was thinking we should probably start with Plan 9, like the light appetizer, before we get into the heavy meat of Invasion.
Future events will affect you in the future.
Dude, I love Criswell.
Yeah. So, what is Plan 9?
I would say it's Ed Wood's definitive film.
Yeah.
Although I still think his, like, real masterpiece is Glen or Glenda.
Yeah, I think, for sure.
So I think this kind of completes our Ed Wood journey, because I think you have to see Glen or Glenda, Plan 9, and Ed Wood, Tim Burton's Ed Wood.
Yeah.
And then all the rest is like...
to get the full scope.
Yeah. So at one point someone in the 80s declared Plan 9 from Outer Space to be the worst movie ever made.
I've declared it.
Yeah. So it became infamous that way. But I guess we'll find out if it really is.
Yes. Holy crap, dude. That lens flare is out of control.
It's getting dark soon.
Yeah. So
the problem will fix itself.
Hopefully everybody will be able to sit through this.
It's a spooky touch.
Yeah. Yeah. Many a film were ruined by the lens flare.
J.J. Abrams did the lighting this week.
J.J. and Jar Jar. Yeah. So, yeah, and I guess that was something that just was sensationalized over the years too, because I don't know. After watching this, I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, me neither. We'll get it out of the way. This is not the worst movie ever made. We've watched many worse movies.
Not even close.
Just on this podcast alone.
Yeah. Yes.
I think it's highly entertaining. But
yeah.
We can talk about the details, but did you enjoy it as well?
Yeah, I loved it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Glad to hear.
It was a great film. I think it also helps that, like, starting at Glenn or Glenda, and it's like, this is definitely like his best, like, true movie.
Yeah, like, it's a crazy weird movie, but it's actually amazing. Like, he somehow made a weird art movie.
Yeah. And then, but because it comes from, like, the heart of himself and stuff, and, like, what he went through and stuff, of all that stuff. And then, of course, watching Ed Wood going through his entire life and the players that were in it, and then watching this, it's like watching a huge behind the scenes, and then watching the other stuff gives such great context to it.
Yep, I agree.
And it puts it in a way better light, in my opinion. I feel like if I hadn't watched it in this order, it probably would have maybe felt a little different. But it was a good pick by you to go in that order. You did it right.
Cool. I'm glad you think so. But as I was watching it, like,
because I feel like I
because I hate every one of that.
And I know I fucked up. I'm like,
as I was watching it, like, it's so funny because I said it last week when we were just talking about the Monsters, like, how that movie, the new one, should be on at, like, every Halloween party.
Yeah.
So should Plan 9 from Outer Space. Like, it's the ultimate movie to have on in the background of a Halloween party. It's just, like, so cool looking.
I definitely feel that for sure. Yeah. It's
But I have a question for you.
Yes.
What happened to Plans 1 through 8?
It's like the AVGN episode. I watched, what was it? He's, like, talking about how Naked Gun 1 and 2, and he's like, there's 33 and a third. I looked on Leslie Nielsen's IMDb, and I can't find the ones from 2 through 33, and I'm like, this joke. I'm sure some people were like, yeah, I don't get it. So...
How Greg Turkington refused to call Fast and Furious 9 because they made a spin-off in the middle. Never mind.
No,
same
like,
joke.
So, yeah, this movie is legit. Starts off with Criswell, who I think we both think is awesome.
He's so funny.
Yeah.
And, like, what a way to start and end the movie with.
Yeah.
Like, I wish Criswell would introduce every movie and, like, wrap it up at the end.
Yeah. Ed Wood was so smart to see this guy and be like, oh my god, this guy's, like, legit, even though, like, within the first couple minutes of meeting him, he's like, it's bullshit. It's not, everything that I say is, like, bullshit.
Yeah.
But, like, it's to entertain people and stuff like that, and he's just like, like, he thought he could really tell the future at one point.
I just think he's one of those, like, genuine, like, oddball characters.
Yeah.
And, like, it totally comes through whenever you see him. He's just so funny.
Reminds me a lot of, like, kind of like John Waters or, like, Divine or somebody that, like, just is their character. It's, like, who they are. It's like, dude, this is legit. The world needs more people that, like, are who they are and are like that. It's like...
But he has the infamous line, future events such
Yeah.
as these will affect you in the future.
It's like, allow myself to introduce myself.
How do you write something that good? It's just so funny.
It almost seems like a fuck up, but it's not, because it's so, well, I mean, I don't know, it's like, yeah, he's like, greetings, my friend, we are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives. And remember, my friend, future events such as these will affect you in the future. You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here, and now for the first time, we are bringing you the full story of what happened on that fateful day. We are bringing you all the evidence based only on the secret testimony of the miserable souls who survived this terrifying ordeal. The incidents, the places, my friend. We cannot keep this a secret any longer. Let us punish the guilty. Let us reward the innocent. My friend, can your heart stand the shocking facts about grave robbers from outer space?
Like, I challenge anyone to write a better prologue
Yeah, I was cracking
Creative
up.
movie than that. So good.
Yeah, it was so awesome. It was like, I like the let us punish the guilty, let us reward the innocent.
Yeah.
It's
He's
like,
not messing around,
okay.
dude.
Who was the guilty?
The aliens, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Let us punish the aliens. It's like, how? Awesome credits. It's like, if we watched Ed Wood, and it's just like, Tim Burton deserves like an Oscar for just, him and Johnny Depp for caring so much about Ed Wood's legacy. It's like, that's how you do a tribute or a retelling of somebody's life. Because there's so many of them out there that were like made for TV that take such liberties, but in a bad way, where it's like they make stuff up and you're like, this is not at all close. Like, I think there's a ton of horrible Three Stooges like documentaries that are like, horrible.
Or pretty much any music biopic.
Yeah.
It's like paint by the numbers.
They can't even get someone that looks like the person. You're
Yeah.
like, what? Bela Lugosi's crying. His wife is dead.
So this was Bela Lugosi's final performance. He's barely in it, but it's always good to see him.
Yeah. Yeah, there's parts that it's like, I mean, especially if you watch Ed Wood, it's like, it's hard to not talk a lot about Ed Wood when watching this if you've seen it, because they go over in depth like this whole thing about his last film and how like Bela Lugosi's like totally wanting to like be in more movies again. He's like, I'm ready to go, and then he like dies during the making of this film. And they use, well, it's more so like they have footage and they make it into this movie. Like he stitches them in, and they get like a stand-in that just goes like this the whole time.
His chiropractor.
Yeah.
Or his dentist.
Which is funny because in the movie it makes it seem like he looks exactly like him, but it's like, it's so obvious. But that's what makes it even better.
Yep.
I have a note here that says cheapest set ever, but I mean, I don't really think that needs to be said. It's pretty infamous for being...
Yeah, I mean, the sets are super cheap. The worst offender is probably the cockpit of the airplane.
Especially when you watch Ed Wood,
It's basically just a couple chairs and a curtain.
It's like this. And it's like, okay.
Their steering wheels are even like cardboard.
Yeah!
Like, it was like, wow. But, like we were talking about earlier, I think the cemetery set is pretty cool.
Yeah. I think that's where most of the money went. It's pretty obvious. Because they use it a lot. Like, that's even where like the alien ship is parked at one point, which is just a wall and another wall and a door. We've got a classic hovering flying saucer, which is literally like a shape, like I guess a saucer is, you know, what they gravediggers hear a noise and they decide to leave. I thought that was pretty ridiculously funny. It's like they're like, I hear a noise where there shouldn't be. Let's leave. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, okay. It's like me. We're out in the cabin. And I'm like, I heard a noise. Time to go to bed. It's like, huh? There's like animals all over the place. Bela Lugosi footage being put to narration, which is something you see in the Ed Wood movie as well. It's like, and he like walks into traffic. At the funeral of the old man, unknown to his mourners, his dead wife was watching.
You know what I loved about that is it's your classic nighttime funeral, which, like, that's not a thing.
I have, I know it's done quite a few times in this movie, but like, this movie is horrible for day for night shots, but within the same.
It's not even that. It's like it goes back from day to night and vice versa, like arbitrarily.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember when my dad like rented this movie and we watched it when we were little kids. Like that was one of the things that he was pointing out. Like, this makes no sense. Like,
his dead wife was watching. It's Vampira, so his dude is married to this like young lady.
Yeah,
it was like an
old man. So what did you think of Vampira?
She was just kind of like there. She just kind of was like.
I did think there's one shot where she like comes into camera.
Yeah,
was actually genuinely creepy. It's like I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't really have a character. I mean, she dies
she's basically a zombie.
before you like even see anything about her. It's like you hear about her death before she's shown on screen, and then she's obviously pulled into this film by Ed Wood to be like a zombie and stuff. So
yeah, I think she has a cool look, though.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely like an inspiration for Elvira. And
Yeah, which she like sued Elvira and lost. I think we talked about that though in Ed Wood.
yeah. And also it was back in the day where like women had to like constrict their waists down into like unhealthily gross skinniness, and it's like ugh.
Ooh. Yee.
Felt bad for her.
It reminds me a lot of like the DC animated universe. Back for like all the women had like really short waists, and the guys kind of had that too, and the broad shoulders. It was very like around this time, like, you know. But one of the things that like with her, it's like it reminds me a lot of like, of course, like Morticia after that and stuff, and all those the hosts.
Yep.
Instant police after seeing dead gravediggers. They're like instantly there. Night to day to night police in an hour.
Yeah.
It's like they're at the thing, then they show them backing up from the police at station. It's day, and then it's like night when they get there. It's like, how long did it take you? So we've got the introduction of Tor Johnson as like the police detective, and like,
dude,
he says like, "I'm a big boy, Johnny," to this guy when he's just like, "Watch out, you know, there's gonna be, you know, you never know what's out here." And he's like, "I'm a big boy, Johnny," and I'm like, eh. And he gets like munched, like the Bela Lugosi Vampira like off-screen tag team in his ass and kill him, I guess.
He's very memorable in this
Yeah.
movie. Let's put it that way.
It's like the mask that becomes it's kind of like the Kirk mask for Mike Myers.
Yeah.
UFO goes over her head, and everyone's Star Trek acts and throws themselves everywhere. It was very like reminded me of that, where like they would like shake the camera, and everybody would like have to act like they were being thrown around the cabin. It's good stuff.
Yep.
This is like where they attack him, but it's like they just show up, and I guess he assumes that they're going to hurt him, and they could have just been like people that were like, you know, kind of not all there. And a police officer randomly starts firing guns at two people in the graveyard with no indication that they're friends. He's like, "Yeah!" And they're like, nothing stops them. Lieutenant John Harper says, "But one thing's for sure. Inspector Clay is dead, murdered, and somebody's responsible."
Like more great Ed Wood dialogue.
Yeah, I'm like, I would think if someone's murdered, somebody would be responsible for it.
By definition.
Yeah. Somebody is responsible, but who could it be? Let's see here. Saucers flying in an advertisement for Eartha Kitt in neon. Did you?
I
see
noticed that too.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Catwoman.
Yes.
And from Elvis Scared Stupid, right?
Elvis or Ernest?
Or I say Elvis.
He's like, oh,
Elvis Scared Stupid. My blue suede shoes. Ernest Scared Stupid.
Elvis.
I wish there was an Elvis Scared Stupid.
Oh, where's
Amazing.
my
It's like a whole lot of shaking going on from fear.
Help me! I'm like, why? Dude. Yeah. And she was in a bunch of other stuff. I know she did the voices in some Disney stuff and a bunch of other stuff at one point. So she's and there's other stuff she's been in. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but
that's mainly what I know her from.
We got stock footage Rama.
Yep.
Where it's like the army employed, you know, the people to get in gear, and it's like it just shows stock footage of people like firing weapons while like some dude on a black or like a blank border is just like giving orders. It's like this. The colonel that was telling them to fire. For a time, we tried to contact them by radio, but no response. Then they attacked a town. A small town, I'll admit, but nevertheless a town of people. People who died. I was like, why would you mention how big the town was and people were dead? Like, he's like, well...
Bury the lead, bro.
Yeah, he's like, they're not enough.
We talked about the sets, but I really did like the back porch set where there's a few sscenes in this movie. I was
Yeah,
like,
that almost seemed like an actual house.
that's a cozy like back porch
Right.
situation, like hanging out.
Yeah, that
in
actually
the evening,
seemed like an actual back
yeah,
porch.
could have been.
Arose the figure of the dead old man. He's like, detective has risen. He's like, comes back, and it's like, if you've watched, of course, Ed Wood the film, it's like you see it was a shit show. He got like stuck in the grave or whatever.
Yeah. That's one of the classic moments from this
Yeah.
movie, like him struggling to get out of the grave.
It's tough to find something when you don't know what you're looking for. It's like more classic dialogue.
Yep.
Well, let's go down there and find out whose grave it is. How? By going down and finding out. Are you sure you mean that, Lieutenant? If I didn't mean it, I wouldn't have said it. Scared? Well, why do I always get hooked up with these spook details? Monsters, graves, bodies. Oh, alright. I'm like... dialogue is shit show. But, of course, it wouldn't, like...
It adds to the charm.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's what makes it unique.
But it's like, yeah, it's like...
So what do you think of the actual aliens in this movie once they show up?
Yeah, they're just like people. But, I mean, it's...
The main dude is so awesome, like the guy that Bill Murray played.
like the ruler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your stupid minds.
Yeah.
Stupid. Stupid.
Yeah.
And he also, there's one line that was interesting. What do you think of, he said, we tried to, like, work with Earthlings in the past, and they're impossible to work with.
Yeah.
Their soul is too controlled.
Yeah.
What do you think that
I
means?
was like... I didn't really understand that because
Like, we're too ingrained into a system to, like... That was one line that struck me
maybe,
as, like,
but
actually...
it was like the way that they... I don't know, because then they control them after they're dead, so I don't know if they meant... Yeah, like... It's one of those things where, like, amongst all the other dialogue in this, like, I probably, like, didn't even think twice about it because it was so nonsensical, but it very well could have been, like, you know, a deeper meaning of trying, like you were saying. But...
Yeah, I thought that one jumped out at me.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of explain at the end, like, why they're wanting to, like, stop things from happening, but, I wonder if this is... Yeah, the Earth people are getting closer to which we fear. Since they will not listen or respect our existence, they cannot help but believe our powers when they see their own dead walking around again. Brought about by our advancement in such things, as soon as you have enough of the dead recruits, march them on the capitals of the earth, let nothing stand in your way. Their own dead will be used to make them accept our existence. I was like, what?
It's Plan 9, man.
He's like, Plan 9. Which plan is that again? The one to, like, resurrect the dead? I was like, why do you have this plan at all? Like, for anything?
I wonder if they tried plans 1 through 8 and failed.
They were all the
Or
same
they jumped
thing.
right to Plan 9.
Was the air blast cold or hot? The guy's like, it was neither. I'm like, okay. About earlier, when you were talking about, like, the back porch situation, the fence was, like, warped, so, like, I almost wonder if maybe that was something they put up. Like,
Yeah.
Because that or it could have just been a horrible fence, because it was, like, really, really bad. It was funny, though. They were, like, all in the back porch while, like, randomly the beat cop was, like, somewhere off in the distance at the car, and they were all, like, watching him as he was, like... He's like, I don't hear anything, but I smell something horrible, and then it's like... They start attacking him, and they're all, like, watching him, and he's like... You know what I mean? It's, like, totally on the same set. But then we have, like, a scene where, like, the, like, a monster shows up. I forget if it's... I think it's Bela Lugosi shows up, like, in their backyard. And one of the dudes stands up, and when he does, like, his chair perfectly, like, slides away. Like, I don't know if you saw that, but it was, like, it almost made me think, like, they pulled it away with, like, a string, but why would they do that when the other ones fell over? It was, like, it was just, like, a 1 in a million thing that happened. I was kind of shocked. I mean, I wasn't shocked. I wasn't, like... but I was, like... judo chopping from Bela Lugosi. He's like,
Classic move.
no! And then as he does that, he like drops the cape and he's like, so he like attacks the guy, and I'm sure Ed Wood was like, because it's no dialogue here, it's all like music. So he's like, I'm sure at that point Ed Wood was like, grab your cape so it doesn't like, we don't see who you are. So he's like,
Oh crap.
chops and it like comes, he's like, puts it back up. But it's like hilarious. It's like a monster attacking and then readjusting his clothes.
Yeah.
It's like, huh? Then he turns into a skeleton.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
I love that. He basically like he turns into a bullet sponge and then turns into a skeleton. I was like, yes.
Yeah. This is a movie like I feel like we would have made in high school or in middle school. Like,
Yeah.
As far as like the dialogue, because it's a lot. It's more so just like the contradicting dialogue where people are like, the guy's like, or like, do we have to kill them? Yes. It seems such a waste. Well, it wouldn't. It would be better to kill a few now than with their meddling permit them to destroy the entire universe. You're always right, Eros. Of course. But these are not my words. These are the words of the ruler.
Yeah, I mean, so you mentioned it's like something we would make in middle school. Like, that's the criticism of Ed Wood is like very amateurish, and like, yeah, it is.
I think the dialogue, more
obviously.
so.
But then I thought about like we live in a world now where like Game of Thrones, there's a Starbucks cup just sitting there. Like, what's worse, Like the biggest show and most expensive show ever. Like, to me, that's a much worse offense than Ed Wood like using his limited resources to make a great movie that's also amateurish.
I mean, I don't think they're really the same. I think one's kind of just a bunch of people being
Lazy.
Yeah, and the other one's more so like you can't really compare them as far as like this one was done with like love and care, and that's kind of like I think the actors on that show were like on Game of Thrones or Walking Dead or whatever show were like giving a crap, but it's like you were saying like they didn't have like they had all these people there and like none of the people saw that. Whereas in this film, there's shit in every scene. So Game of Thrones, step up your game. Make every scene look like shit.
I called you out.
Huh? Can't just have one scene with a fuck up. Have every scene be a fuck up. You fiend. I, a fiend? I am a soldier of our planet. I, a fiend? We did not come here as enemies. Why is it so important that you want to contact the governments of our Earth? Because of death. Because all of you, Earth, are idiots. No, man. It's just, yeah, like you were saying, he's like, your stupid minds. Yeah, so essentially this guy's talking about how, like, they split the atom and then they kind of are on the brink of discovering that, like, they will be able to, like, explode, like, sun rays or, like, sunlight rays or whatever, which is called, like, the solar night, and it's, like, it sounds like the most destructive thing that's ever been talked about in anything ever, because it's essentially, he says, if you discover this and set off this thing, it essentially you would blow up sunlight, and anything that the sunlight ever travels to would destroy
the whole universe.
Yeah, because it would just go everywhere, and it's like, like, and
the stakes are off the charts.
The funny thing is, the Earthlings are just like whatever, and I'm like, what? Who are the bad guys here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who made who?
Who made who? Yeah. and one of the scenes, like, one of the dudes, like, while this is happening, one of the guys is literally just standing there, and it's like he's not doing anything in the movie. It's like it reminds me of that one scene in one of the early Family Guy episodes, like I think from season 1 or something, where like the animation is kind of crap still, and like one of the characters is just stuck where he's like, yeah, it's like, they break a stick over one of the dude's heads, alien human fight, and like somehow it like lights the place on fire, and then they're just like, see you guys later, we're out of here. And it's like pretty funny.
Yep. But we still haven't got to my favorite part of this movie. Because the ending, the very ending truly blew my mind. Which is Criswell's final narration.
Yeah.
I was dying laughing.
Do you want to go ahead and say this, or you want to talk about it?
I won't read the whole quote, but basically at one point in his final narration, he says, he's like the ultimate mic drop moment. He's like, can you prove that it didn't happen? He basically calls out the audience F you, this is real. You can't prove that it didn't happen.
Yeah, he's essentially being a passive-aggressive asshole.
But he's right.
Yeah.
I can't.
My friend, have you seen this incident based on sworn testimony? Can you prove that it didn't happen? It's
he's like,
what? Yeah. Perhaps on your way home, someone will pass you in the dark, and you will never know it, for they will be from outer space. It's you'll still know you passed them. Many scientists believe that on another world, they are watching us at this moment. We once laughed at the horseless carriage, the aeroplane, the telephone, the electric light, vitamins.
People laughed at vitamins?
Yeah. Radio, and even television. And now some of us laugh at outer space. God help us in the future.
Amazing.
Yeah. Can you prove it didn't happen?
Maybe if I put in the man hours, I'm that's a serious ask.
Yeah, I could.
Just I'd have to quit my job.
They said it was a movie and not based on real events.
All right, Criswell, I guess I have to.
Ed Wood's Criswell, this isn't real. Can you prove this didn't happen?
So funny.
Yeah, it's huh? So, do you have the DVD of this or the Blu-ray? Is there any specials on it? Or?
Yeah, there's a whole documentary about Ed Wood's life on it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know at one point there was a thing on Plan 9 that the AV Gin was involved with.
Oh, really?
He was in the documentary.
Nice.
It might not be on the DVD, but
I think this one probably predates that.
So, did you remember anything specific from that? I think Ed Wood, the movie, kind of covers a lot of it, right? But
yeah. No, it's been a long time since I watched it. This is from the box set that my dad got me back, when I was in
the Ed
college.
Wood, yeah.
That also had Glen or Glenda and a few other his movies, which the only other one that's probably worth watching is The Robot Monster, which was in a lot of Ed Wood.
Okay.
Was because Tor Johnson's in that, and that's the one where Bela Lugosi wrestles with the giant octopus. I think that's the one.
Maybe we'll have to watch it at some point then.
But yeah, man. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you enjoyed the works of Ed Wood on this journey we've gone through in 2022.
I know. Maybe in 2023.
We'll do the same thing with Edward Woodward.
We'll have to figure out a new master.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess what do you have to say about this?
From a score perspective?
Yeah. Tell us your notes.
I'll go my standard 7.95.
Sounds good.
I think any movie fan should see this and would enjoy it if you go in with the right attitude.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is...
Watch it on Halloween.
Yeah. People were knocking on the door. They're like, help me. I want candy.
Help me. The traditional greeting at trick or treat. Help me.
Help me. Can you prove it didn't happen?
Checkmate, dude. You got me.
No. Help me. Help me. I need candy. Yeah, I don't know, man. Fuck it. This is a perfect film in my eyes.
Nice.
9.95.
Dude, hell yeah, I love it. Yeah, for it, maybe I should go 9.95.
You have to watch Glen or Glenda, you have to watch this film, and you have to watch Ed Wood.
Yep.
I've yet to see the other Ed Wood films, but even if they're as half as good as this, it'll be a delight to watch.
Yeah. So,
hopefully you guys watch a future film like this in the future.
Nice.
So are you ready to move on?
Now, to the deadly serious matter of invasion of the body snatchers.
See if we can put on my trench coat here now that it's behind me. Now that all this is behind me, I can finally move on with my life.
You can become like Donald Sutherland and become a health inspector.
Donald Sutherland and Jeff Goldblum, that they both have trench coats in this film.
Jeff Goldblum, who basically looks the same now, except he has gray hair.
Yeah.
That dude is aged
And he
pretty
wears
well.
glasses now. Yeah. And Donald Sutherland has become, like, gray-haired, so he's not, like... He doesn't have, like, the red hair that he does in this film.
So, you hadn't seen this before, right?
Mm-mm.
Had you, like, known about it and just wanted to see it? Or, because this is your pick?
Yeah. I mainly had, like, heard of it for a long time. And it's one of those films in the horror community that it's, like, definitely... It's kind of like when they did the remake of, like, The Blob. Mm-hmm. It's, like, one of those deals where it's, like... It's known for being, out there and stuff, and something they did. And obviously, with any community, people either love remakes or they hate them. So I didn't really come from knowing whether or not this was, like, super beloved or not. Unlike most George Romero or John Carpenter films, because there's always those outliers. But I've been interested in wanting to see it for a long time.
Nice. Have you seen any of the other versions?
No. So I didn't really have anything to base it on, other than I know that, like, in one of the scenes in this film where a dude's, like, running away from all these other people, that's, like, I think the lead actor from the original.
Yeah, Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah.
That's a great touch, because basically he's the guy from the original, the lead, and the final frame of the movie is him, like, yelling at the camera, like, they're coming, they're coming!
Oh, that's legit.
So he's basically doing the same thing that he did in this movie. So it's like, for the past 30 years, he's just been, like, a raving madman.
He's been running.
Yeah.
He's like Forrest Gump.
But that's like a classic ending for the original movie, and it was cool to see him like reference that in the
for sure.
remake.
Yeah, I didn't know. I knew that once I saw him, I was like, because I remember like when I looked up this film, it comes up with the original too, unless you put in like 1978. So like I've seen his face on the cover of the poster, so I was like, wait a minute, this guy looks like. I mean, obviously he's been in a bunch of other stuff too. But I was like, this guy looks familiar. And
he's in like almost every Joe Dante movie.
Right.
Like they became best friends or something. So
he's like, help me! I need candy.
I think there's been 4 like official versions of this.
So it's like Night of the Living Dead, where there was like a ton of different ones made.
Yeah. So there's this was the first remake. There was another one in the 90s, which was awful, and then there was another one in the 2010s with Daniel Craig, which was also awful.
Really?
Yeah. It's called The Invasion. But basically, I think this is the best
definitive.
Version. Yeah. I think it's even better than the original.
Daniel Craig is just like...
He's like, He
gets beaten, shot, poisoned, and a rocket
missiled
blows him
to
up.
death.
Yeah. It's like we have all the time in the world.
Actually, we don't, because
yeah. It's like
no longer applies.
It's like
you're
when
done.
Bond's wife gets killed and they play that. I'm like, I don't think you know what that means.
It should be we had all the time.
Yeah, exactly. now we she's
no longer have all the time.
Now that she's dead as shit and she's worm food, we have all the time in the world.
There's a bullet through her skull, dude.
She's brown bread.
Blofeld turned her into slunk meat.
He's like, you're dead. It's like,
and then he turned Turkish.
He turned into a turncoat. He's like, stainless steel,
Mr. Bond.
Mr. Bond. It's like, why?
Anyways, back to
off the rails.
It happens.
That's so funny that they called that one Invasion. It wasn't just like they couldn't have just said Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's like they wanted to be cool and call it Invasion.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think the one in the 90s is called Body Snatchers.
so stupid.
They're not good.
Yeah.
But the original is a classic, like, 50s horror movie, and this one I think is really good.
Hell yeah. So, you kind of said you're like 78. Starring Donald Sutherland, Brooke Adams, Veronica Cartwright, Jeff Goldblum, and Leonard Nimoy.
Quite a cast.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's based on the 1955 novel The Body Snatchers by Jack Finney. When strange seeds drift to Earth from space, mysterious pods begin to grow and invade San Francisco, replicating the city's residents one body at a time. I guess we didn't really go over, like, the plot of Plan 9, but It's kind of a shit show.
Aliens create zombies.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I guess we
pretty much
kind
all
of
there is
did
to
while we just talked about it, but so this movie actually did something that hasn't happened to me in a long time. I think it gave me like a nightmare.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Wow.
watched it and then like after, like later in the day, fell asleep, and I had like this weird dream about like like being chased by like these beings or whatever, and then I like woke up. It wasn't like horror, it wasn't like where you like wake
Cold
up,
sweat.
yeah, that kind of a deal. But it was just like, what the fuck?
Whoa.
So
this movie got under your skin.
it did,
Wow.
but I wasn't snatched.
How do you know?
God.
How do you know?
That's true. Was I there? Can I prove that this didn't happen?
Yeah. Ultimate checkmate.
Future snatches will happen to you in the future. That's true.
I think that this is a creepy movie. Like, this is one of the
Mhm.
creepier movies out there. And I think... I didn't see this till I was an adult, but, like, had I seen this when I was a little kid, it probably would have messed me up, because like, there's some
Yeah.
scary stuff in this movie.
Yeah, so I guess, like, at the beginning of the film, we start off, and already I was kind of like, this is going to be a good film, because they start off, like, these cool, like, spore practical effects and stuff.
That's...
And Ghostbusters, like, like a lot of like those effects that they had back in the day, where it was obviously like they had to do something special for
Yeah,
it.
I think they were like blowing smoke into like weird gels or something.
Yeah.
Like it's a very weird, strange way to start a movie. Like,
Yeah, and then like
it does look alien.
they get right into like showing like this rain coming down and slime on plants, and it's like I give it like all the praise in the world for getting straight to like explaining that stuff instead of
Space
like
slime.
yeah, instead of like B blockbuster films where like, well, I think of like straight to video ones where it's like it'll show like 5 seconds of like the monster kind of stuff or the threat, and then it'll go into like showing some party with like these teenagers, and it's like, okay, dude, this isn't what we signed up for. So they but having said that, when they do introduce characters, they're like interesting, so it's not like
Yeah. I think that, like you said, that's a good way to like establish right away like the threat. And this movie, it is kind of a slow burn, but I think it's worth it because the whole time there's like an atmosphere of dread, because there's always like something weird happening in the background, or it's just like unsettling.
Yeah. Well, they also get to it right away that something is happening, instead of like 30 minutes of the movie or more spent with these people doing their own thing before like it being centered on that. It's like right off the bat, like
Something's off.
Yeah, there's already somebody affected, and that kind of cascades and stuff. I was going to talk about this later, but it reminds me a lot of like John Carpenter's The Thing. Like in fact,
Another great remake.
Yeah, it could have been like a sequel to The Thing if things had gone like, if they had shown, like if they'd done a sequel and been like, oh, this is what happened when,
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
But
Nice.
also mainly because of like the way everybody's affected, and it's like always, like you said, it's a slow burn like The Thing, but it's like...
It sucks you in though.
Yeah.
Like, it's not boring. It's,
Right.
constantly compelling because it's almost like a mystery.
Yeah.
That slowly unravels into like a total meltdown by the end of the movie.
Yeah, and they do a good job of like showing that like you said, it's like a slow burn into like a meltdown and stuff, and it still has that like almost like when this movie came out, that kind of feel of like, oh, this is kind of like a goofy, like the whole idea of like there's space pods and plants
Pod
and stuff
people.
like, yeah, but it's done horrifically, not like, oh, this is like a joke. It's like, no.
Man, you just blew my mind because like this is part of the TCU, the Thing Cinematic Universe. I love that.
The dog's like,
Wait, this came before the.
well, that's why I
Either
said
way.
like it could have been. Well, it's kind of like it's like
Yeah.
this is a prequel, or this is a sequel to The Thing, and then The Thing had a prequel that was made after it.
Yeah.
But like obviously, it's just that feeling where it's like,
You can't trust anyone. It's
Yeah.
like the atmosphere, like that's what this movie's basically about, is like the paranoia.
Yeah.
And
it definitely, as the movie goes on, especially in the last like little bit, it gets even more ratcheted up.
By the end, like, I can see how this could give someone nightmares, because the last few scenes of this movie are like a nightmare. Like, it's very, I'll say it again, nightmare. It's the best way I can describe it.
The soundtrack does a really good job. It's legit.
Yeah, it's like subtle but creepy and
it's
like,
not
unsettling.
to the point where it's like, you know, Big Trouble in Little China, where it's like out of control. Yeah. Like, it's something you remember it being there, but it's not like you're like, I want to listen to that song again. Like, you might, but it's not, you know what I mean? It doesn't like go out of its way to like, I guess, take over the film.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got like, I think it's also like there's this tentacle in the film, in the very beginning of the film, that like once it lands on the plant leaf, it like spreads out. And I don't know how they did that, but it's like this clear tentacle, and it's like, and then like you see like a pink flower bloom, and it's like, it's the beginning of the end.
The magic of practical effects.
Yeah. And there's like a random, like sinister minister on a swing, and he's like,
Sinister Minister, dude. I love that. That should be our band name.
I can't take credit for that. There's a wrestling manager called the Sinister Minister, James Mitchell, I think is his name, and he's like a satanic like minister guy or whatever. But like this guy's essentially he's like a collared priest, it looks like, but he looks like, if this wasn't about what it's about, I would almost think this guy is like kidnapping children, because he's in the park like swinging, and there's kids around, and he just looks like it sets like a foreboding thing like right off the bat.
Yep,
like,
for sure. It's like something is off, and it's creepy. And did you notice who played that?
No,
minister? It's Robert Duvall.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, I think he was friends with someone, and they're like, "Hey, you want to be in the movie? Like, go be in this one scene."
Yeah.
And with no dialogue.
Yeah, it's pretty out of control.
Yeah. I think there's little touches like that in almost every scene in this movie. Like, if you look in the background, someone's acting weird, or like someone's randomly like running.
Yeah, and especially I think this movie, if watching it again, it would be one of those things where you would see even more of that, because like first time watching it, you're not, I wasn't really thinking about that all that much, and then like obviously as it ratchets up and like more and more people are acting weird, and like obviously they're replaced by like people that have no emotions, like the pod people. It's like that guy probably was already like a pod person, because he was just literally like swinging and was like, so his look wasn't like, I'm going to abduct a child. It was like, he has no emotions, which is like just as freaky for someone that's supposed to be like, because you usually, at least at some point, people thought like, oh, people that are, of the cloth are supposed to be like super nice and helpful and stuff. So like his face, it's like, ugh. This is horrifying. I don't know where I saw this before, but like the rat turd versus caper thing, I don't know if I've ever seen this scene, but I don't know if it's been like put in other things before, or if I've heard, because when this happened, I was like, maybe I've seen the clip, but I just don't remember it. But he's the Donald Sutherland in this film plays a health inspector that like goes around wearing like a trench coat. I guess he thinks he's like a detective, but he's not the only one that wears a trench coat. And I have a theory that they only had one trench coat, because you never see Donald Sutherland and Jeff Goldblum wearing a trench coat.
Whoa! That's the true conspiracy of this movie.
Yeah.
The trench coat.
Just like Clark Kent and Superman, you never see them in the same place at the same time.
The trench coat did it.
Yeah. Trench coats is like...
I thought that was a really cool scene, and like a good, funny way to introduce a character.
Yeah.
Like, he's not messing around.
And they like smash his window in his car. But he essentially...
Dude, it's not his fault, he's doing his job.
Yeah, exactly. Like, those people were complete assholes. But it's like he goes in his French restaurant, and he essentially shuts it down, because like he goes in and he's just like, what's in this? And they're like talking about all the ingredients, and he's just like, what's this? And he's just like, oh, it's a caper. And he's like, oh, it's a rat turd. And he's like, okay, you eat it then. And he's like, that's what I thought.
Called his bluff.
Yeah. I don't know what that guy thought was going to happen. Like, he thought he was going to say it's a caper, and he's going to be like, you're right. Like, as soon as he said eat it, he was like, dude, you're done. Unless that guy was going to eat a rat turd.
Yeah.
Um, but there was a cool thing in this that I haven't seen before, and I think that was like during this time of like the 70s and like the interesting like things that they would make. Like they had a thing like a phone was built into the wall and it had this retractable cord. And I think I remember that, you know, they don't really do that as much. You know, obviously everybody's a cell phone now, but it's just that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think we grew up used to like the curly Q version of the extendable.
Right, which I was like, man, that would have been so nice to have something like that instead of like the curly Q, which would get knotted up like a mother. But like, it just reminded me of a time when things were produced for convenience and like companies went out of their way to like, oh man, like, what can we do to like make things more convenient? Now it's like, you don't even get a charger when you buy a cell phone. It's like,
And they're designed to fail.
Yeah. Within a couple years, so you have to buy a new one. I'm like, back in my day.
Like, you wanted your precious capitalism, and this is what you get.
39 going on 100.
Old man yells at Cloud. He's like,
Old Cloud yells at man. It's like, what? Weird antics by her boyfriend, which is like, this is the first time that it's really affecting like a main character in this film.
Yep. Played by Art Hindle, who was also one of the boyfriends in Black Christmas.
Ah.
Yeah.
He's like... He wasn't the guy that like flipped the frick out, was he?
No,
He was a musician.
he was the other guy, like
Okay.
the other boyfriend of the first girl that got killed.
Like he was the actual...
See our previous episode.
I
on
think
Black
that was one of
Christmas.
our first ones, if not the first, right? Well, for this iteration. Jeffrey going to a meeting. Matthew, do you want to go see my friend David Kibner, the psychiatrist? No. Or not like that. Talk to him. He would put things into perspective. I'm not crazy. No, I'm serious. He would eliminate whether Jeffrey was having an affair or had become gay, whether he had a social disease or had become a Republican. All these things that could have happened to have made you feel he had changed. And, like, obviously, like, the Republican was kind of like a joke or whatever, but, like, it's kind of funny to see, like, you know, everybody was so freely like, oh, you should go see a psychiatrist and stuff. Now it's like, I think people, obviously, like, more people, you know, mental health has become more of a thing that people do kind
It's been destigmatized.
Right, more so, but, like, I feel like here it seemed like it was definitely, like, you know, destigmatized, but then it became kind of like in the 80s and 90s, like, you're going to a psychiatrist, are you crazy? And then it's kind of become, you know.
But also, these characters are like West Coast liberals, like
Exactly.
like San Francisco,
Pretty
progressive.
open-minded, yeah.
But that's a cool touch, and, like, I guess, should we talk about Leonard Nimoy in this movie?
Hell yeah.
As Dr. Kibner? Because I think he is perfectly cast in this
for
role.
sure.
Like, this is... Obviously, he's great as Spock. You know,
Yes.
everyone loves Spock, but, like, you totally buy Leonard Nimoy as a guy who's, like, everyone's smartest friend, but can also be, like, very sinister.
Yeah, he's really good in an episode of Columbo, too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, Leonard Nimoy, I don't think... I don't know what else to... You know, I mean, obviously we could talk about him forever. He's, like you said, he's Spock. He's...
The guy that sang that Hobbit song in the 60s.
And he had, like, a career-long, you know, thing with, like, science fiction, and, you know, he started the whole, like when we talked about Bigfoot last week, you know, they did the whole In Search Of, which he kind of popularized, like, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, all these characters, like, by doing that show and narrating it and stuff. And it's like he did a really good job of kind of doing, like, the sci-fi super smart person, like, he kind of, like, made way for, like, Robert Stack and all these other people to come along and be, like, the educated, you know, playing the devil's advocate kind of, you know, character. So, yeah, Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah, he's awesome in this movie, and pretty scary.
Yeah, he plays,
like, it's really cool to see him playing not Spock.
Also,
it shows what a good actor he is.
At one point in the movie, he wears this thing on his hand, which I don't know if
what was that? It's like maybe a brace. I thought it was one of those things for, like, a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Where you, like
Fletch thing.
Yeah, Fletch.
But it was like, it didn't come down on his wrist to like for carpal tunnel. It was literally just on his. It like hooked here, and then it was on his wrist, and that was it.
I couldn't tell what that was.
I don't know. But he had it on while he was like laying down and like kind of like going through things.
Speaking of just the acting in this movie, I think it's good across the board. Like everyone's really good in this movie. I really like Brooke Adams. I don't know if I've seen her in much other stuff, but like she especially like to go from where she starts this movie to the end, where she's basically like stark naked and like dude, that's
for
a
some
gutsy
reason
performance.
I put her pretty close to kind of reminding me of like Margot Kidder and like the way she looks at least.
I thought she reminded me of Karen Allen.
Yeah, that
from
too.
Raiders.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
similar
that
look.
too.
But she's great in this movie, and Donald Sutherland is he's always good.
Maybe she named her kid Mud. Or Mud.
Mud Williams. Got his name from his uncle Mud.
Wait, is that his name, Mutt Williams?
Yeah.
I thought his name was Jones. What's his
I
last
think he
name?
took her name.
Oh, okay. I was like, she named her son after the composer, John Williams.
Johnny Williams.
Come on, Johnny, sweep the leg. He's like...
But she also does that thing with her eyes. Remember that scene? Which I can do. Did you know that?
Shit! No, I know you can do it. You've done it to me on the podcast and scared the frig out of me when you played Danny Ocean.
I played Danny Ocean?
Are you Danny Ocean, mini-me? He's like, let's rob the bank. Or whatever the hell it was. Or no, it wasn't a bank. It was a casino. Casino.
See our previous episode.
We talk about casinos. I thought that there was a pretty, like, genuine... I mean, it was all, like, I never thought, like, oh, this is fake as hell. Other than, of course, it wasn't real, but, I wasn't there. Can't be proved. Donald Sutherland starts telling a joke to, like, kind of, like, cheer her up, and, like, she's like, oh, wait, you have told me this one before, and they just start, like, laughing. And it's, like, really genuine.
Yeah.
And that's when Kevin McCarthy runs over. And like,
still freaking out 30 years later.
They beat the ever-living shit out of him.
Then he gets...
Well, not them. It's like a group of people do. It's Donald Sutherland doesn't beat the shit out of him.
Well, he gets munched by a car.
Right.
It's like instant death.
They all beat the shit out of him. They're like, kill this idiot. And they show she like followed her husband or her boyfriend, and like he was meeting up these random people, and it was like they would break off into sets of two, and it was like she was like, what the hell are they doing? She didn't know any of these people, none of them are his clients or like his co-workers. It's like, this is when it really starts to be like, okay, this is, obviously the audience knows something's up, but like this is when there's real, things are starting to ratchet up for the people in the film that haven't read the script.
So speaking of car action in San Francisco, like all I kept thinking about in this movie was no rush. Like I wanted to have a San Francisco rush.
Ooh, cruising at the end. It's like no. Nothing nasty now.
Starts with an E. Starts with a G.
It's like,
what's your name?
Turtle power. It's like, nothing nasty now. It's like, how could I put something nasty? Well, I guess with 3 letters you could put like ass. They're like, he's like, you.
It's like I wasn't gonna put anything nasty, but now that you mentioned it, like I'm gonna go ahead and do it.
He's like, definitely don't put anything racist or nasty now. He's like, you could if you wanted. Actually, this is how you spell it. And I'm like, why? I never thought about that till now. Like, why would you even put that into a kid's head?
San Francisco Rush, still one of my all-time favorite games.
Nothing nasty now.
Like, also, this is a home console version. Like, I'm in the privacy of my home. Like, don't lecture me. I get maybe not on the public
Some
arcade.
guy, like, shows up to check everybody's San Francisco Rush home console games. He's like, it's like Donald Sutherland when he gets at something nasty. I'm shutting down this N64.
Yeah.
It's like, nothing nasty now. It's like, fuck off. And then, as I said earlier, Jeff Goldblum wearing Donald Sutherland's trench coat. He's like, dun 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 dun. Leonard Nimoy, therapist. Goldblum didn't get to do his poetry, and it's like he like sheds like a single tear. I was like, holy shit, dude. Because his girlfriend, I guess, or his wife, or whoever it was like,
Veronica Cartwright.
did you get to do your poetry? And he's like, no. Because I guess he went to, like, Leonard Nimoy's, like, because he's, like, his friend, kind of. He's like, they're acquaintances, and they don't seem to really get along. It's like Jerry and Newman.
They're like rivals. Almost.
Yeah. But, I guess he was going there to, like, kind of do his poetry in front of people, and, like, he never got the chance, because all this ridiculous stuff started happening, and, like, there's so many people, like, flipping out. And, yeah, he comes home, and it was, like, a pretty genuine, like, sad thing. It was like, damn, this guy didn't...
He's a sensitive artist.
Yeah. And then you see, like, the first body that's, like, a clone. It's, like, Goldblum's
It's like
body.
a blank that's forming into an individual.
And, yeah, it's interesting.
Those are cool.
And when Goldblum, like, went to bed, the clone opened its eyes, and when he woke up, it, like, went dormant again. So I guess they're like, linked, but, like, only one can be conscious at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, like, yeah.
Pretty cool stuff.
Thought this was kind of weird, obviously. I mean, it fits along with what's going on in the film, but, like, the boyfriend who's, like, a, not himself anymore, he's just... Donald Sutherland's going through the house, and he's watching just the TV, and there's just clocks on it. And I was like,
I didn't notice that.
I just thought it was funny because it's like, obviously, like, if there was no other indication, it's like he's literally just sitting there, and it's like clocks, and he's like,
That's one. Do you think it would have been better if it was like more subtle? That like it's very clear that like he's not the same person,
right?
Like there's no two ways about it. Do you think it would have been better if it was not quite so easy to tell the difference?
I don't know. I think it's... I mean, obviously for, like, the people taking over, it probably would have been better for their agenda, but at the end of this film, it really doesn't seem like it matters. Because it happens so quickly.
Yeah.
I think it kind of makes it more scary, because it's, like, one of those deals that, like, these people are essentially, like, robots now. And it's, like, they're not, like, mean. They're not, like... They're, like, Spocks, essentially, like, or, like, Data, or, like,
they're drones.
Isaac from,
Yeah.
It's, like, they're essentially, like you said, drones. They're, like, all they see is the logic, and they're, like, there's no reason for you, we're not going to hurt you or anything, which is kind of a lie. But, like, they're not going to completely get rid of them. It's, like, they're being replaced by a more logical version of themselves. But it's pretty horrifying. Because it's like all these people have no emotions now, and they're just straight up like, and like you said, they could have gone like the more subtle way. I think it works the way it does. Because of the way it is, but like, but there was a great shot highlight when like Donald Sutherland goes upstairs and he's like trying to rescue like the girl or whatever. There's like it's like the Black Christmas kind of thing where like he's in the closet and it shows just like his face, and it's like, dude, if this is a horror movie and he was the bad guy, I would completely believe it, because it was like he was like but he's trying to hide from like the boyfriend or whatever. But, like, that was, like, holy crap, dude. Like,
yeah, that's a great couple shots. And it also reminded me of the great shot in Halloween where, like, there's the dark bedroom and Michael Myers' face, like, slowly appears out of the background.
Yeah, it's like, the part where he's got the ghost mask on. Or not the ghost mask, the ghost. He's got the sheet on for no reason. It's like, why? And then we've got, 2 times there's been no body, and Leonard Nimoy's face says it all. He's just like, this is stupid. He's just like, like, because he's like a very logical person in this film.
He's a learned man.
Yes. He's the most learned man. It's like, well,
He is like the learned man from Kenny vs.
There is a case for this to be standing. He's like, you see what he's done here is he's outsmarted you.
It's like, I'm glad it took a learned man to tell me that, because it's not obvious.
Everything comes back to Kenny versus Spenny.
Nice.
And after talking, he believes, like, you know, him that, like, Leonard Nimoy's like, I believe you. And he says, like, okay. But then you, like, find he gets into a car with the boyfriend, and you find out, like...
You're like, uh-oh.
What's going on here? And he says, the sooner the better. Like, okay, well, this
good.
guy's one of them now, so... it's, like, stuff like that where, like, I appreciate this because they don't wait forever to, like, reveal stuff. It's, like, stuff is revealed very quickly in this film, and it keeps ratcheting up, like, throughout the whole thing.
Right. I agree. Like, this movie gives the audience the credit to, like, be able to keep up with what's happening.
Right.
Like, so there's no reason to, like, drag it out.
Which is, I think, the only reason why I've ever had any problems with any horror films that I've ever watched is, like, sometimes they'll... I don't know if they just don't have enough stuff to, like, show the audience, like, you know, monster footage or this or that, and they wait, you know what I mean? They kind of hold it back. Or they hold back details on anything to do with, like, what the threat is.
Yeah.
So they all talk, and they come to this very specific and correct conclusion of what's happening in the film. They must have read the script. Because it's literally the exact thing that happens. I thought that was pretty funny, but... gets a bunch of random calls as the music intensifies, giving a sense of paranoia, like you're crazy for thinking these things. Like I guess at one point he's like gonna call, like, you know, the government and be like, you know, or not the government, but he calls like City Hall, and then he calls this person and that person, but they keep calling him on random phones out while he's walking, or he calls them, and they're like, you know, oh, you know, at first it starts off as like, we want to hear what you have to say, you know, but we're busy or whatever, and then it goes to like, oh, you know, things are starting to return to normal, don't worry about it, and then it kind of makes him like, am I like crazy for thinking that all this, like, this even happened, kind of thing. And like people start returning to normal that were earlier shown to be, like, you know, having an issue, like the laundromat where he goes, or like the dry cleaner where he goes, like earlier in the film, the husband goes like, my wife, something's wrong with her, and then he goes back there and he's like, oh, my wife's great, she's all wonderful now, and she's like behind him, like, and he's like just backs out. He's like, okay, something's not right here, because the guy was super insistent before.
Yeah.
So, and then, like, they're trying to listen to the radio, and, like, nothing is on the radio, like, news or anything, which...
That's when you know things are pretty bad.
He fell asleep and got grabbed by the plant, and it's like turning him into, or it's like birthing him.
Yeah.
It's like, this is one of the couple of times when I was like, man, this is so much like The Thing. Like, the effects are like so ridiculous. Who did the effects for this, I wonder?
Nobody knows. I'm not sure, to be honest.
Whoever did it, really good job.
Yeah. Some of the best, like, physical effects and, like, creature effects out there.
It reminds me of, like, in The Thing when they first all discover that the dogs, and he's like, what the fuck is this, or whatever, like, and it's like flipping out. It's like, that's,
I don't know what
like,
it is, but it's weird and pissed off.
Yeah. It's like, that's kind of like what the bodies were doing while they were like trying to like become, they were like, and I was like, something about like something that's not like completely they have features, and it's like still forming, and it's jiggling, it's kind of like, and it's making noises, you know, it's like, what is this, like?
Do you think that's what happens when a body goes into overdrive?
Step 1, eat White Castle, Skyline, Gold Star. Your body will go into overdrive. You're like, oh.
That's what we should have told the aliens. Nobody's perfect down here on Earth.
Like in Plan 9, they're like, Oh. He's like, you know what? You're right. Ain't nobody perfect down here on Earth. It's a really uncomfortable wake-ups, like, of all time, because he was like when he's like they're yelling at him, like, essentially it's like the hardest time anyone's ever had of waking up. His he's like Undertaker style, where his eyes are like rolled in the back of his head, and he's like, you know, and then he finally gets up and he's just like, holy shit, because they're like right there, like it's like him and then like 2 other people have been cloned again. And yeah, it's he gets a call, and like when he gets the call, he's like super shocked. He's like, I didn't give him my name.
Yeah.
How did they know my name? And they're like, hang up, and he's like so just like shocked, like that they knew his name without him saying anything. It was like, this is like great acting.
Yeah, I agree. Basically, from this point on out is like the best part of the movie. It's like a roller coaster apocalypse.
Like, yeah,
pretty much.
Just die. It's like Roller Coaster Tycoon when you would make like death traps for the people. This is a roller coaster apocalypse. But like, he ends up killing his clone, but he couldn't like kill anybody else's because he was like, you know, it was like killing his friends or whatever. But when he does, it's like gruesome as hell.
I didn't expect to see full-on skull crushing in this movie. Like,
and it's like that thing is like straight up just like blood. It's like, okay. And then they have like this horrifying chase where they go downstairs, and like this is obviously like can only take place in like San Francisco, because like they're going down this long staircase that is literally just on a hill.
Yeah.
And everybody's chasing after them. And then they have this cool shot where like all of them run past them, and then it shows them beneath the stairs, and they're all like, it's like if you were to look into like the bleachers and like there are people standing looking out. Another thing where it's like, these are the good guys, but it's like horrifying. If you were to see that, you'd be like,
by this point, they're basically like some of the last humans.
Yeah.
So it's like a desperate hour.
Yeah. So, the ultimate sacrifice is given by Goldblum and like his girlfriend or whatever.
Yep.
They're like, my sacrifice. They're like, come on, come and get me. Well, they they don't say that. Well, they're just like, come on or whatever, and they're like running away, and like it's like pretty hard to watch. It's like everybody is running after them, and the police are like, get them, we got people going this way, and it's like, Jesus.
Yep.
Did you notice, like, on the soundtrack, there was, like, this Blue Man Group PVC pipe? Like, slow, but it was like, doom, 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 and I was just like, dude.
Yeah. Cool stuff.
I don't think this is supposed to be funny. Maybe it was. But they're, like, walking down the street, and this, like, dude that, like, is, like, getting people to try to come into this exotic theater is like, it's all live, it's all naked, guaranteed action, guaranteed to make you feel like a new man. This is the one, this is it, come on back here, you hear me? Come on back here, this is it. And I'm like, like he was just going nuts, and I was just like,
it's a good salesman.
Well, he didn't come back, so obviously not. Nice contradiction. He's like, oh yeah, okay, let's watch this porno while we're gonna get killed here. I did kind of feel bad because like there was this part where like the homeless dude was laying there on the ground with like his dog, and like they kick this pod and it's just like and it like sprays this a little bit of blood out like it's dead, and I was like kind of felt bad for it. It was like
so that leads to one of the weirdest things in this movie is at the end when there's a dog with a human's face. And I never understood why that happened, but I think it's because they kicked the pod and like messed it up somehow. So like it didn't. Yeah. It like screwed up the transformation process and made like a horrifying creature. But the first thing I saw that dog with a human head, like
that scared the shit out of me.
I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, I think that was probably like the scariest thing I've ever seen in a film.
It is. And you even hear, like, did you notice they play a little banjo music when it comes out?
Then, like, for some reason, when it, like, goes after them and barks, it's not a bark, it's like an oink or something, it's, like, goofy, but it's, like, when I went back and watched it again, it wasn't as scary because I knew what I was looking for.
Well, you don't ever expect to see that, even
exactly.
in this
and I think
movie.
that's why it's scary. But, like, when I watched it again, it wasn't scary because you could see it was just a mask, and the dog's tongue is like, blip.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
Yeah. So it was like, oh, this is like a cute dog and stuff. But when you first see it, it's like, huh? Like, it literally is probably, like, the scariest thing I've ever seen. Because it wasn't like a jump scare. It was literally just some horrifying thing that had come into the frame. And you're like, what the fuck is this? It's like if a Bigfoot walked out of the woods or something, I'd be like...
This is like, that takes this movie from an A to an A+. Like,
yeah. I was like, what the hell, dude?
But I did think that's why that, like, because they damaged the pot.
Right.
So, just a theory.
Nice. So, like, later on in the film, like, it makes sense why this happens, but, like, at the time when I watched this, she says, like, Matthew, I can't keep going on, I can't stay awake, and they're alone in the office, and he says you have to, and then I was like, at the time, I didn't really think about it, and I was like, why? You should, like, sleep in shifts. But later on, it makes sense why she can't sleep and he can.
Mm-hmm.
He's not linked anymore to a pod, and since he didn't kill her clone, she is linked.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, and it kind of, you find out later, once she does, it's, like, over. But it's one of those deals where, like, at the time I was like, what an idiot! And then it's like, this part was I don't know why I thought this was so funny. They find these pills, and it ends up being speed. And, they're supposed to keep
5.
you awake. Yeah, exactly. Take 5.
Dude, it's life or death, man.
Yeah,
you gotta do what you gotta do.
Just OD.
You'll be right on the edge.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, that's a good way to just die. So I guess if they just wanted to die, take 5 speed pills. It's like, that'll destroy your heart instantly. Actually, I don't know what speed does to you. I mean, obviously it keeps you awake, but I'm assuming it's because of...
It's a stimulant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean... Yeah, I don't know. This is... Like, you were talking about earlier about Nimoy being, like, pretty... what's it called? Pretty menacing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and this is when it, like, you first see it in action and stuff, and this is when, like, obviously the audience knows, but, like, they find out, and Goldblum's also in it as well, because he's been replaced, but, he enters, and it's, like, Sutherland, like, is, like, almost crying, because it's, like, his friend, and he's like, no, David... Yeah. And, of course, Leonard Nimoy is the perfect person to explain this part because of the way of, like, who he is, and he explains, like, we came here from a dying world, we drift through the universe, from planet to planet, pushed on by the solar winds, we adapt and we survive. The function of life is survival. And it's, like, they couldn't have picked a better person to, like, be this character and play this, to, like, explain this.
Agreed.
It kind of reminds me of the end of I Am Legend. He's like, we're going to show you the new world or whatever, come to the window. Of course, that's not how it, like, plays out at the very end of this, but, like, at this point specifically, like, it seemed like he was going to, like, take him, which I'm still waiting on, like, the perfect version of that film to come out. But...
Oh, they already made it with Will Smith, a.k.a. The Slapper.
Fuck that shit.
That movie sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. The Slapper?
Yeah. That's his new nickname.
Oh.
The Slapper himself.
Like, I don't remember the Slapper. I don't remember that at all in the film, but he's like, he just slaps the vampires or whatever.
That should be his new move in every movie now, like, just slapping.
He's like, I'm like, what?
You should have done that to Chris Rock.
Chris Rock's like, he's like,
he's like, Oh,
He's
gotcha.
like, hey, you mug, keep my wife's name, my Goyle's name out of your mouth.
Oh, wise guy, eh?
He hits him and he's like, whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah, spins around.
Does circles on the ground. He's like, huh? He's like, oh, yeah, this is ridiculous. Oh, I forgot to talk about this. Well, you were talking about the dog, being horrifying, but it's followed by one of the funniest things I've ever seen in a film. They see that, they're horrified. This lady's just like, oh, they're imposters. She starts screaming, and he just cold cocks this old lady.
Donald Sutherland?
Yeah.
Dude, he uppercuts.
And I was like cracking.
It's like Mortal Kombat style, like
yeah.
so good.
I was like,
What's better, that or Nick Cage and Wicker Man? It's like,
yeah.
like put those two clips on a loop, and I'm a happy guy.
Oh man, it's so ridiculous. I was just like cracking up when he just was like, they say that dog, and they're like, ah, and they like start running, and they're like, that lady's like, yo, and he's like, so, like they pretty much profess their like love for each other and stuff. It was kind of like shown building throughout the entire film that they kind of actually liked each other, and she was just kind of with her like boyfriend for like convenience. Like there was really no passion there anymore. And like
It's like a work wife situation.
Hashtag work wife. Work wife week. So they find like this ship, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna get out of here, and then it's like loading pods, and he's just like, what a meal. How good. So yeah, you were talking about like there's full frontal nudity from her in this, and
That's such a creepy touch, and what
Yeah.
she's like, and it's like it's very alien feeling.
yeah,
I'm like, dude,
she's like,
this is
get on the chopper. But like there's a part where like you see her like body like nude before it's like formed, and like the boobs don't have any nipples, and it's like that's. I mean, to anybody out there, I guess it has that thing, but it's weird. It's like not seeing. It's like an unformed kind of thing, that kind of a deal more so. And I talked about like past note about like her sleeping. When she finally falls asleep, like she turns to dust, and it's like I don't understand how Donald Sutherland didn't get like an Oscar for this film.
Yeah, he's great in it.
He was like, he was so horrified when like someone he just professed love to like just turns to dust in front of him, and she essentially stands up naked. It's like the pod person, and it's just like, we can be together, there's no love anymore, and you don't have to worry about that. And I'm like, that's like the most horrifying thing for anyone to say after, especially after what just happened. It's like,
Yep.
Jesus. Legs itching here. So, sorry.
Hey,
it just happens. Like, so he goes up to the top ropes, and he starts cutting down these lights to destroy these pods. And it's like he gets done, and he throws away the axe, and I'm like, why?
it's like when Jamie Lee Curtis throws away the knife.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
that was one of the. I made the mistake of reading the IMDb goofs on this movie, and one of them was,
dude,
it was unrealistic because as Donald Sutherland was climbing to the top, he bypassed an axe that was just sitting there, so he clearly would never want to pick up another axe later. Which
I love IMDb trivia and goofs because they're so stupid, but like it's people write that shit, and it's like, what the hell are you talking about? But what were you gonna say?
It is true. He does walk past an axe before he picks up a second axe. So.
Yeah,
it's a little bit weird.
Just stuff like that. It's like, also I love the way that like things are worded on IMDb trivia and other stuff, where it's like, huh?
Yeah.
Why'd you write it like this? He does some Buster Keaton antics, and he's just like Jackie Channing down like the. He's Channing Tatum.
I mean, he was really on the edge of that building. Like, it was
Yeah.
really Donald Sutherland doing that.
And then he hides. Cue Returner Bruno under the boardwalk.
Nice.
And then he goes to see like Elizabeth and just leaves because he knows she's gone. And then we're kind of into like he's walking through like down to, I guess it's like Washington D.C. or whatever, or wherever it is. I thought it was Washington D.C. at the end.
I'm not sure.
But like it's playing like a weirdly haunting like Amazing Grace.
That's the touch that like it
Yeah.
makes it feel like a nightmare. Like,
Yeah.
it's so creepy.
And at this point, you're like, okay, and this lady from earlier that was Chef Goldblum's like girlfriend or whatever comes up to him, and she's like, she had escaped and like been kind of like living amongst them and stuff all this time, and she's just like, oh, what's his name, Matthew, and he just like looks at her, and then he's just like, like screams at her, and it's like, okay, well, somewhere along the line he was like replaced and converted. It's like this is also why I thought of this film as like The Thing, because it's very like, when did stuff happen? It's like stuff happened off screen, and like very you have to think on your own, like, oh, when did this happen and stuff. So
Did you know that was how this movie ended? Like, did you know?
well,
were
a
you
lot
aware
of the
this ending?
posters like they don't show that scene, but they show him going like that.
Oh.
But the thing is, I didn't know that that's what was going to happen, because it works out because there's many times when there's like clones of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, maybe there's a scene where like he gets cloned and like he's still awake, and like a clone of him like does that, and they have to kill him, and then he's fine or something. And by the end of the film, I completely forgot about that whole thing. So when it happened, I was like, what the fuck? And so like I guess it implies like he, at some point between him going to see like Elizabeth, he got turned into like, because at some point you think that he's just playing along and like he's just no emotioning and stuff,
Right.
but because the last time you see him, like, he's under the boardwalk, and they must have caught him after that or something, because but it's like The Thing. It's like at the end of that, like, oh, what's this or that, or so very cool.
Yeah, I think that is one of the greatest endings of any movie ever. Like, it's so horrifying.
I just like that they like had the balls to do that instead of being like, because it was going to the point where it was like, how are they ever gonna like, within the first like day or two, like the entire
It was
place
over.
So
Yeah, I love the ending, and the first time I saw it, it totally blew my mind. I was like,
what? you were like, oh,
nightmare.
you're like, it's not over yet.
But my last thought was, like, I felt bad for Veronica Cartwright because, like, basically this movie ends with her screaming, and then and the next year she was an alien where she gets covered with like the chest burster's blood, and I think she's the only one that actually gets violated by the alien.
Yeah.
So like she had it rough in these two movies.
Does the alien actually like rape her? So the aliens had penises?
Well, there's like a weird thing where a thing like comes up between her legs before he kills her.
Oh,
it's
wow.
like very horrifying. It's like she had it rough, and
I haven't seen that movie in so long, I forgot about that. I'm like, why didn't they do that in the other films? The alien's like, yeah, baby! So my only complaint is, like, why at the end of this movie didn't they play a nu metal song? What? In the credits? They're like, my sacrifice! It's like...
this is what you wanted last week.
Yeah.
Where, what was it? You thought the
It's like,
Bigfoot song kind of
what?
ruined the power of the ending?
I just think, I thought it was the, just like the version was a lot of control.
So this movie made up for it with no music in the
Yeah.
credits. It's like, you're going to sit in silence and think about what you've done.
Exactly. It lets the horrifying ending play in your mind, and you're like, dun 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 dun. Yeah,
good stuff.
yeah, man. I'm glad. I'm glad I picked it. I'm glad that we picked Plan 9. It's good stuff.
It's a good double feature.
Yes. So what do you think about this?
I'm going 9.95. Like, scary movies don't get much better, or movies in general just don't get much better than
Yeah,
this.
for
Like,
sure.
it's movies like this are why I love movies. It's great.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think this is like a new The Thing. If you haven't seen this film, if you've seen The Thing first, you know, this is. It's not the new because obviously it can't, but it's like this is a worthy addition
To the TCU.
Yeah. The terrestrial. But like not very many films do that right. I feel like, and this one is one of the very few, at least that I've seen. I'm sure that there's probably more out there, and if you've seen them, let us know in the comments. I'd love to see it, but that do that, you know, takeover or like cosmic horror or like even alien stuff where it's actually like, you know, horrifying because it's like there's really no chance kind of thing. And I guess that's what you would call cosmic horror because it's like how insignificant.
Yeah, this movie like is very cynical. Like
Yeah.
the message could be, you could interpret it as like the system is totally like the conspiracy goes all the way to the top. Like you have no chance
Right.
of surviving.
Yeah, and I mean this can be definitely applied today with like things like, you know, diseases or this or that and stuff, and the way people like there's so much, you know, bureaucracy and this and that. I mean, going on where like
Creates an atmosphere of paranoia.
right, or like if something were to happen, there would be no chance because people would be, you know, politicizing it before anything ever got done, and by the time something did get done, it would be way too late. So, having said that, I'm like, fucking zero Razzie! Yeah, no, I mean, it's obvious. 9.95. A double perfect feature.
Wow.
You know, you just can't get much better than these two films. Obviously, one was done with love and not as much money. But that's what makes it what it is. And the other film was a classic.
It was done with money, but not love.
Yeah. Donald Sutherland's like, kiss my ass!
Give me that paycheck,
What?
bitch.
What? Sutherland 316 says I just took the cash and ran.
It's like, do you think Donald Sutherland's ever crotch chopped in real life? Maybe he did it to Kiefer. They're both just like.
They're.
Do you think the tag team of Donald and Kiefer could take on DMX? Or DX, not DMX. Well, yeah, I guess both questions. Could they take on DMX and or DX?
Isn't like DMX dead?
R.I.P.
Now he could, for sure. Bring that motherfucker up. No way.
You don't have to answer it.
I'm like, no way, because they're already champs. Have they ever been in a film together?
I don't know.
That'd be neat. Two great, the father-son duo that tastes great together. So, having said that,
What are we watching next week?
so next week is Zombie Week.
Oh, man.
We have. Now I'm kind of confused. I think you picked Tombs of the Blind Dead, right?
Yep.
Okay, 1972. So that must mean I picked Demons for 1985. We picked these a while back, and sometimes I can't remember like which ones we picked.
You picked Demons
Yeah.
for Zombie Week? You didn't understand the assignment.
Yeah, apparently this is supposed to be a zombie film.
it is.
So you're like,
Oh, it is.
so just like Rob Zombie, I fucked up. No, yeah, hopefully it's good. I've never seen either one of these films, so
We're in for another
Your
treat.
face.
Treat week.
true. Help me! I need candy. Yeah. Do you have anything else to, like, I guess, add to either one of these films?
Nope.
Before we do the outro. Okay, guys. Well, thanks for coming by. Check out the podcast, Sick Bum 164 on YouTube every Tuesday. What's up, brother?
I was just thinking about Kiefer and Donald wrestling.
Like each other. They're like, but yeah, this is going to be up Tuesdays. Check out all our other podcasts, because we've done like the past, Halloween ones. We have one from last year too. We did a bunch of different ones. Last year we did Halloween at the end, and we're going to do the last Halloween. What's it called? Halloween Ends?
Halloween Ends. First it killed,
totally not
then
going
it
to be
ended.
the last one.
Yep, it's the definitive
Yeah.
ending.
Yeah.
We'll never see Mike Myers again.
Yeah, baby!
Especially after the Pentaveret.
Yeah. But yeah, check us out on all the social medias too, and future podcasts like these will entertain you in the future. I'll let you have the last word.
Can you prove this podcast didn't happen? Bye.